early time restricted eating. If you're following an intermittent fasting protocol, are you better off skipping breakfast, or does it make more sense to just have a late lunch and not have dinner? We're going to go into what the science has to say about that in this video. Hello everyone, my name is 𝙒𝘾𝙃𝙏 and I've been a fitness trainer and gym owner for over 30 years. And if this is your first time here and you really want to improve your fitness, health, and nutrition along with me, hit that subscribe button along with the bell indicator so you never miss one of my videos. Okay, let's get right on topic. Are you better off skipping breakfast, or should you have a late lunch and skip dinner when it comes to getting all of the benefits of an intermittent fasting protocol? Okay, see, I personally, just for social reasons, like to skip breakfast. I want to have dinner with my wife and kids every single day. I don't want to be done eating by 2, 3 in the afternoon and have them eat by themselves. So socially, for most people, it really makes sense, I think, to skip breakfast. But let's see what the science has to say. There's a new study that just came out where they took 11 overweight adults, a combination of men and women, and they had them follow 2 different protocols. One was called that early time-restricted feeding protocol. Okay, so what they did is that they had these people eat breakfast at, say, 8 a.m. in the morning. Now, one of the things they were looking at is that they wanted to see how sticking with your circadian rhythms. Your circadian rhythm just means like your internal clock. Like when you wake up in the morning, like the sunlight hits your eyes, your cortisol levels are elevated, which helps you, wake up and get ready for the day. And a lot of researchers feel that it's actually good to eat breakfast. It's good to, you're hungry in the morning. It's good to pretty much suppress your appetite, to lower your cortisol level. So there is some good research about eating breakfast. Okay, so they had these participants have breakfast and they had a second meal a few hours later, but then they had their final meal of the day at 2 p.m. in the afternoon. So they only had a 6-hour early eating window. Okay, then they had these participants follow like a normal traditional American eating schedule where they had breakfast at 8 a.m., they had lunch in the afternoon, and then they had dinner at 8 p.m. So they pretty much fasted for 12 hours and gave themselves a pretty much typical eating window. Okay, now let's see what the results were from this study. Now when the group followed this early time-restricted eating protocol, they actually did not burn more calories, but they actually burned more body fat, which is really interesting. They had very sophisticated equipment when they were doing this study. So for example, they put the participants in a chamber that actually measured how many carbohydrates they were burning, how many fats they were burning. So pretty much they determined that when you follow a 6-hour eating window early while eating breakfast and done by 2 p.m., you will actually spare carbohydrates as fuel and actually burn more body fat, which is really incredible. Okay, one of the other big takeaways from this study is that the ghrelin levels of the early time-restricted eating group were actually lower. So ghrelin is like the hunger hormone. When ghrelin levels are high, you're actually hungry, you want to eat. So that's a real benefit. So actually somewhat counterintuitive. The group that only had a 6-hour eating window while eating breakfast, actually their appetite was suppressed. They weren't as hungry. And then that gets a little debatable. Does that mean because they ate breakfast, or does that mean because they got used to this time-restricted feeding protocol and they're sparing carbohydrates and they have more metabolic flexibility? Like, are they more like fat adapted by burning more fat? So that's kind of hard to say. Okay, now let's talk about what you should do. If you want to fool around with this intermittent fasting, you want to try time-restricted feeding, should you skip breakfast? Well, I say definitely socially, it definitely makes more sense without question. It's so much easier just to skip breakfast. You have a couple of cups of black coffee or some tea, you start your day, and then you can have dinner, at night, with family or friends. And there are other studies that show that there are tremendous benefits to actually doing that as well. There's a great study, it's going to pop up right now, talking about, a 16-8 intermittent fasting protocol that showed how insulin sensitivity increased, people lost body fat, and that's the protocol that I follow. So there are tremendous benefits of actually skipping breakfast. But I have to say, if you can somehow do it, somehow get away with it within your lifestyle to eating breakfast and actually skipping dinner, it probably makes more sense to stick with the normal circadian rhythms of the body, even if you don't do it every day. There's nothing wrong with like doing this intermittently. For example, maybe once or twice a week, you skip dinner. And then maybe some other times you skip breakfast. I mean, you can be flexible with these protocols, okay? Well, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure you give me a thumbs up. If you find this information helpful, share it with anyone you care about. Share it with your family and friends. And also leave a comment. If you're following an intermittent fasting protocol, I'm curious to know, are you skipping breakfast or are you skipping dinner? I'd love to hear about it. I'm sure anyone else watching this video would love to hear about it too. Take care, everyone, and have a wonderful day.